Okay, so we'll see. All right, this is going to work. Supposedly. I'm hoping I'm hoping you can hear us now. We had some technical issues. If you can hear us, please give us a thumbs up in chat. Yes, we do. Yay! Okay. Um, I have a new mic. I have a new microphone, so hopefully I sound a little bit better and whatnot. And well, hey everybody! I see Hilge. I see Dominic. I see Stig. Who else am I seeing here? Oh, I see Pierre. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Victor. That my denture. Lost it. Yeah, I was having some fun this weekend, and so this one here, it has little magnets embedded in, so you put the teeth in, and they actually magnetically stick. So yeah, it's fun little print. I saw it, and I had to try it out. So yeah. So so how are things, David? Yeah. They're asking if David is on mute, so no one can hear David. Is that right? Oh, okay. So no one can hear David. I need is just hold on. How about now? Can you speak, David?
I want to be not silent, so if you guys could tell me. Uh, there we go. That's better. I got audio now.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think I accidentally muted my NDI source. So sorry guys. This is
okay.
I'm so
Ooh.
so if just so everyone knows, I'm in control today, not David. I'm using my OBS to do all the streaming, and it's been a while. I'm a little rusty. So
Yeah, we're
so
having issues on my end on this computer for some reason. So,
yeah, we were a little worried that his computer was using almost 100% of resources. so we
Yeah.
didn't think the stream would go too well. So we last minute ditch effort, we switched to my computer, and we're gonna hopefully have maybe less troubles. We'll see.
Possible. Anyway,
Okay.
so my answer to the question that Greg asked was I'm okay, but we did. If you guys don't know, if you weren't in the Discord on the Patreon side there, um, we often do 3D printing workshops in our local area here, and the last few actually have been digital because of the thing that's out there.
Yeah.
But so we had a session yesterday with about 20 people. And we built some enders and had them going, and it was great. But I always get tired after um, presentations. they
Well, I
they take
mean, we
brain work.
to be fair, it was a full 8 hours of us talking
Mhm.
and troubleshooting 20 people's leveling skills and whatnot. Which, I mean,
Prep
they they
people.
they all did really well. I'm very proud of all of them. They did a
Yep.
great job, and they got all of them got there in the end. And so that's the important thing. We didn't lose
Mhm.
anyone in the weeds. So
Yeah. So everybody came along. So that's how I am. I mean, how are
hi,
you,
Vlad.
Greg? Hey, bud.
I'm good. I'm good. I think David had a little bit more problems because he didn't get sleep the night before because he was troubleshooting his computer late into the night, and I went to bed early.
Yeah, and then I
I
also
kind of
got
feel guilty.
got hand brace that I can't take off, and building a printer with that is yeah, it's my Superman glasses, right? Um so I wear a Calgary Flames hat all the time on the stream too, but I always explain that I'm not a hockey fan.
Yeah.
Uh, and short
So
beard. Yeah, you're right. You got both of them. Short beard
so
and a hat.
I just wanted to say, sorry guys, our special guest for today rescheduled for next week. So if you do have any material science questions, please let us know, and we'll have them ready and whatnot. Holy cow, Stig, that's very generous.
Thank you, sir. Victor says I have no sounds. Is that still a thing? No,
D-
it's not. I think that's an old thing. I think
okay, okay.
he'll. I think he's a little bit. He's in the past, maybe on the stream a bit,
Um,
watching the replay.
thumbs up in chat if everyone can hear David and myself.
I think so. But yeah, like as we were talking too, it took a while, but I finally talked Greg into getting a new mic. So for live streaming and podcast stuff, yeah, we can hear you. It's we should. Greg will sound like 400 times better now.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently, I sounded like crap before, so
Well, like not crap. It was, it's just different. It's different.
yeah.
So, I get to just got a shout out, and I know we're missing some of our slides here that we usually have for the live show stuff, but uh, shout out to Helge for joining Patreon at the top tier level. So, guys, don't know we have
Yes,
Patreon, but thank you, good sir, for supporting us up there. And if you guys are interested in the Patreon, it's patreon.com/3D make it. Uh,
and I do believe it's in the show notes of the stream.
and this week, midweek-ish, we're going to be doing the Patreon live stream once we figure out why our computers want to catch fire and such. So that is coming up too. That's one of the benefits, I think, in all the tiers, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
So, and then of course we're quite active with our friends on Discord on the Patreon side too. So there's a few things.
yeah.
Do somebody know when the version of Modern will be released? That's a good
Well,
question, and that's
well,
actually a topic today.
yeah. So, do you want to go into that now? We could go
Yeah,
into
let's
that.
just
So,
we'll do
so
it.
I have some working theories, and so my working theory is as soon as I finish upgrading all my printers to 7.2, they're going to release 2.0.8. And
Uh,
that's the one working theory.
yeah.
The other working theory that I have is I have noticed, and Stig and I have been talking, and a few other people, that there are a crap ton of new boards that are popping up. There's some from Fly, there's some from Big Tree Tech, and they're all roughly being released at the end of March. So the availability is at the end of March. So my working theory on that is um, I've started seeing 7.2 config files showing up for every those boards just in the last couple days. So
Mm.
I'm thinking that there once it kind of hits a critical mass, they'll be dropping it so that there's compatibility across all the new boards. So that's my working theory. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think you're not wrong. I actually was listening to an interview with Scott um the other day, and that's kind of what he said is they're just waiting for a critical mass of boards. He when he was talking about it, he also said like the bug fix is pretty much 2.0.8 now, except for like a new board here or there. Um, and I have used the bug fix. If you guys don't know, the uh, the bug fix, the nightly release of Marlin there, when you're on the Marlin home screen, or not home screen, the download page, I should say, on the bottom half, there's a Marlin nightly build section. And if you download the nightly build that's labeled bug fix 2.0.x, that is actually Marlin 2.0.8. So if you want to get your feet in the water and see what it's all about, it is stable. I use it on one, but yeah, I totally agree with Greg. He's waiting for all of us to get everything up to 2.7.0
And
or
and
2.
I really want them to release it soon because
Yeah.
I've got my Anycubic Chiron Bumblebee. I would like it updated because right now it's on 2.6, and I just didn't feel like putting the effort into going through the config line by line and transferring all my settings over to the
Mm,
new one when I knew the other one's coming out right away. So
yeah,
yeah.
same
So
boat. Yeah.
Vlad, the answer to your question is we really don't know, but we really want it now.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm the same boat, Greg. My SX4 is on 2.6, and I'm like, I'm waiting for the other one because I want to upgrade a few features. Like, for some reason, I set my filament hot end or the hot end timeout to like 42 seconds. If it's idle, it shuts off, and I'm like,
Right.
no.
Well,
Very
the
convenient.
the other thing David and I have been chatting about is I really want to turn on linear advance on all my printers,
Hmm.
and so I can go through the process, but you have to reflash it, and so I kind of don't want to flash it until there's a newer version, you know?
Yeah, makes
So,
sense, right? It totally makes sense. Like at the same time too, I've heard and I've heard Scott even on that same interview, he mentioned like unless there's an advancement in the feature of the firmware, like when Marlin 1.9 went to 2.0, right? That we got linear advance, we got a bunch of features, and that was a huge step forward. But if your firmware is running on the current firmware version and you like it and you're not missing stuff, why upgrade? And I don't disagree with that, right? So
yeah,
uh,
and
very good.
I I got to say that my printers are running fine. So, it's not like I'm that's the other reason I haven't like updated it, but because I want to turn on some new features and whatnot. That's why I'm kind of waiting because I don't want to put the whole effort in. But then there's also the, do you go with the first dot release or do you wait for the dot one? Like 2.8.1, because when
Yeah,
2.7 came out, 2.7.1 came out like right away, right, with
it
some
did.
bug fixes.
Yeah, and
And
like
then
look
and
at
then two and then we've been at 2.0.7.2 for quite a while.
right, and then look at the release tangent of other stuff like Kira, just as an example. Like it always seemed when they drop a like the only one I haven't seen them do it with is 4.8 now, but like 4.7, the next day 4.71 was out, right? And oftentimes we see that in Marlin. Um, but the nightly bug fixes are there for that purpose too.
Hey, it's Ray. Hey, Ray. I will see you tomorrow.
Always wait on firmware. It's always better to let somebody else go down the tunnel, and thankfully Greg and I are here for you guys to go down the tunnel. We'll be your canaries.
Yeah, yeah, and we have, because we have, a number of different styles of printers and a number of different models. If there's some weird glitch when 2.8 comes out, uh, pardon me, um, we will definitely let everyone know if we had a bad experience or some strangeness happen.
Yeah, yeah, and I honestly the only weirdness I've had so far was with like a sub bug in Marlin. It was 2.0.7.2 actually. There was a missing semicolon
I, I,
in the library files, right?
I
And that's pretty weird.
yeah, the one before 2.6 or 2.0.6
Mm,
had a 2209 with I think it was baby stepping issue, and
yeah,
stuff went funny if you had both those on. But yeah, and I had a few glitches with that. So yeah,
yeah. But
so
that's, I mean, I wish we had the wish we had a direct crystal ball to say when that was releasing. Like from what I had heard in that one interview I was listening to, it sounded like it was weeks away, like maybe a week or two, but that was now like 2 months ago, maybe three
yeah,
months.
but yeah,
Wow.
it's one of those things. Like it's kind of like when Elon Musk announces a new feature for his cars. It's Elon time, right? So
Mhm.
there's Marlin time too, right? It's done when it's done.
Well, and the fact that it's not out, yeah, it really shouldn't bother us. You know,
That that should be a
uh,
good sign that they're work doing lots of work on it.
yeah, there's a reason it's not out yet, and we just
So
kind
you went choppy here, David.
of
I don't know if you opened a browser or something, and you're. Can everyone hear me okay still? Can everyone hear me okay still?
hello. I think everybody can hear. If you're watching Vince's comments, I think he's just a little bit behind in the
Well,
chat.
you went Cylon-y and disappeared from my audio when you were talking. So
Oh,
that's why I said that.
oh,
Okay, but you're
um,
back. You're back now, so it's all good.
moving a window around. How dare I?
Okay.
Well,
Okay. So
uh,
so there we go. We also wanted to chat, and David brought this up. So we had a question when we were doing our build session with the big group about what is the difference between all the Ender threes. And so David, I think this was your topic, so I'll let you start.
yeah. So I mean, as you guys are aware, and if you're not, you're about to become aware. Ender 3, specifically Ender 3, like the original one, is probably like on a fifth or sixth revision, right? And then there was the Ender 3 Pro, and then there's the Ender 3 V2. And I thought it was an interesting topic. And it doesn't just apply to Ender, but like in this chat it will. But when you're looking at buying or purchasing an Ender 3, specifically an Ender 3, I'm not saying like, we're not going to unacknowledge the fact that the Ender 6 is out there or the Ender 5 is out there. But when we're talking like Ender 3, which one is the bang for your buck and what features have changed enough to make it different or you need to buy the next version, right? And the Ender 3 Pro was really a step in the right direction in the middle now. Um, if you guys just, I'm going to throw it out there in chat if you guys can throw it back at chat. How many people in chat own an Ender 3-ish device? I'm curious, even a CR series or something like that. Just curious. But when you look at the progression, the Ender 3 Pro is really, I think, now this is like my opinion, but the Ender 3 Pro is kind of at the peak of its game, right? It got to a plateau, and you have this Ender 3 Pro. And then at Ender 3 Pro, people were putting in Big Tree Tech silent ports, right?
Yep.
And we started upgrading them. We printed drawers, for goodness sakes, right? You wanted storage underneath, you printed those drawers from Thingiverse. If you wanted belt tensioners, well, they had them for $5, right? You get $5 off of Amazon aluminum ones, or you printed them yourselves. Now, let's see. I'm just checking the chat. Yeah, we got some Ender 3. No Ender 3, but I have an Ender 5. Yep. And so Ender 3 original. And so this is actually, so I'm seeing lots of the printers pop up, and this is it's a good point in case for everybody. And they're not the first company that does this, but the Ender 3 V2, Greg.
Yeah.
let's that's the
Let's
one
go
that,
over that specifically. Yeah.
yeah.
So my thoughts on the Ender 3 V2. Do I love it or hate it? I think it's fine. I'm not a fan of that version's textured bed. The textured bed on my CR10 V2 is just awesome. It's very much like the one I have on my Anycubic Chiron. But the one on the V2, you once you clean it up with alcohol and whatnot, it almost seems chalky. Did you find that, David? Like it doesn't seem to hold its its texture very well. So that's my biggest beef with the V2.
And this is kind of like my I guess it's not a rant, it's a point, and I want to point it out. When the Ender 3 first came out, you had glass and you had clips. It's the way it was, right? Ender 3 V2 came out, and then you had removable flexi matte plate that most people replaced with flex steel or they put glass on it, right?
Yeah.
And then we get to the V2 and you get that. Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about it. You just said my feelings on it too. So you get that crappy glass. Now, that being said, if you flip the glass over, you're left with a great glass plate, everybody.
Yeah, that fits.
Yeah, the underside of that glass is awesome to print on. I'm just looking at the comments here, and Victor asked, "Do you guys know anything about the VoxLab Aguila, or however you say it, Aguila?" And kind of. I mean, I know that it's an Ender 3 clone, and I know that right now it's on a heck of a deal. Um, it's about $180 US. So at that price point, you can get into an Ender. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the Ender 3 price point. So they're really just trying to add competition to the market there. They,
I haven't seen that one. So
it's not like it's not bad looking. I have not used it, so I cannot attest to its print quality and like everything. When I was looking at it the other day, it's like every other company. Every single 3D print that they put on their site, like on the printer, is a render. Like it's
yeah.
clearly a picture that just gets sat on, but like literally the build volume of it's an Ender.
Yeah.
So um it
And
does say it's
and
silent.
there and you could probably get clones that are solid. Like I know Anycubic has their zero, and
Yep.
it's also a clone of the Ender, right? It's just slightly
Mhm.
different model. So
Yep.
obviously, Creality hit the sweet spot. So
Yeah. Well, they were the first one to kind of make that bear-like clone of the Prusa and make it fly, right? Because and they've run with it, and good for them. And everybody's trying to play catch up. So I'm going to steer back towards the other thing that the Ender 3 V2 offers, just as an interesting fact. And then because we were asked this when we were doing the presentation, like before we started, like what's the difference? And one thing that I think that you could say that the Ender 3 V2 is superior over the Pro, one thing, one feature, that's it, is the control board. The
yes,
controller in the V2 has it was the 422 at one point, and then it was the 425, and I don't know if they did the 427s yet, but they have silent stepper drivers, not in UART, so
yeah, the kicker is like, why don't you just turn on UART? Like, build
right,
the board with UART. I
just
don't get it.
sucks, right? It doesn't make sense. Those drivers can go in UART, and then it has the you can fry egg feature on the stepper drivers because the VREF on those boards is usually set way too high.
And then the
That's
screen, I'm not like it's fine. It's kind of it's the Marlin screen only with pictures, kind of, and
Mhm.
text. It's a little bit fancier, but I don't know what would happen. Pardon me. If you did put a custom Marlin on there and you enabled different features, like if you enabled some of the sub menus and whatnot that you can now enable in Marlin for bed leveling and assisted bed leveling and stuff, which aren't their stock. Will they
Mhm.
even show up? I don't know that because I haven't reflashed one of these. So
Yeah,
that's
I did,
that's a question I have.
right? Like, and those D-Win screens, guys, I hate them. I hate like because they started so the D-Win screen they used on the pros, so the CR10S Pro and the Max are D-Win, and they've kind of done that on the V2 with that color spinny wheel. I'm just gonna look at the chat here. Victor asks, "Can you update the firmware to the newest Marlin on the Vox Lab?" So I would. Okay, this is an assumption now because there's actually no information on what firmware is on the Vox.
I don't even know what board it has, so I can't tell you whether it has a bootloader or not.
Like it has a color touch screen, and it could go either way. Honestly, Victor, when I'm looking at it, that could be a D-Winish esque screen. If that's the case, then it's probably running Marlin, and you can. But I will. So I can't give you a for sure answer, but I will say this: you can do whatever you want with whatever you want. So if it doesn't have Marlin on it, you could convert it, whether that means you have to buy a new board or whatever it is. But it doesn't. Let me see if I can find the answer
Yeah,
as we're
yeah.
chatting here.
If yeah, guys, keep in mind that if the source code, for example, for a printer isn't released, so you don't know how they put together their configuration and configuration.advanced file, that's not the end of the world. But you will have to know your board type and you will have to know your dimensions, and then you can add in your offsets and everything, and you can build up and make your own custom firmware, which will be probably better a lot of times than the stock firmware that came with it, because a lot of times they don't turn on all the features, they don't do certain things, and then maybe they don't turn on thermal runaway, which because they have like it's still an old version of Marlin that doesn't have it on by default. So there's benefits to rolling your own, so to speak, Marlin, but If it's working and you feel that all the safety features out of the box are good, you you don't have to upgrade. Um, the,
Yeah.
if there's something not working for you, or you need to add some sort of leveling device, and by the factory firmware doesn't support it, then definitely roll your own, kind of thing.
So I just downloaded because I'm curious about stuff, right? But I just downloaded the firmware set for the Vox Lab off of their website. It is compiled in a bin file. However, on their website, they mention Cheeto box slicing software as well.
Oh,
Um,
so it's not even Marlin.
well, they have resin printers, so I'm almost wondering if they did what Anycubic did, and they're just using Cheeto firmware. But so there's no open source file of firmware on their website that says Marlin. I was right. The screen is a DWin screen clone thing, and there is firmware for that on their website. But as far as the board, um, I don't know off the top of my head, and there's really no way for us to. We'd have to have one, and they haven't sent us one.
And
Um,
Helge said half the fun is baking the cake, and you're true, it's true. But not everyone, has the patience or whatnot to go in and start modifying, because if they've never done it before, they might get a little overwhelmed. Once you do it a couple times, you'll find that it's not so bad, right? It's actually fairly easy to do. And I know a guy who wears a hat, and he's in this video that has done some really great guides on Marlin. So if you are, you know, wanting to kind of move ahead and try to set up your own firmware, there's some good guides. And if you join us in Discord and whatnot, we help people out all the time.
oh, for sure we do, and um, firmware should not be the stumbling block of your 3D printing experience, and that I think that's an important point. And again, it goes back to the other point where, we were saying like if your firmware is working, don't poke the bear, just leave it alone. Don't poke the bear, and that's why the Predator this day still sits on that Cheeto box firmware. Um, you know, just because I don't want to poke the bear because it does not it doesn't like to be PID auto tuned and that kind of stuff, right? Little stuff.
Stig has a really good point. One of the downsides of just taking a printer out of the box and just using it as is you don't know if maybe a feature you want is turned on, like linear advance, or do they have UART, or do they have you don't know, because some companies don't actually release the config. So you just have no idea. It's a black box, and your guess is as good as ours at that point.
Yeah, and it comes back to using G code that's precompiled. You wouldn't do that to your printer. I would hope you wouldn't do that to your printer. So, um, trusting that unless you're downloading like a company's one, and even then, some of them aren't good. Why would you do that to your printer? So, um, I guess that's the end of the kind of the spiel on the the V2 would be the reason you get a V2 is the upgraded board, but the cost difference between the Pro and the V2 with an upgraded board is the cost of a board, like legit. So if you
But
wanted to a
I mean,
different
if
board,
if you if your only choice is a V2, though, right? Like
mhm,
if there's no longer a Pro available,
yeah,
then
yeah,
get the V2, right?
like you're not gonna be disappointed with it, right? Like
No, it's
that's
still,
that's
the print
that's
quality is still fine once you can get it to stick to the bed. It
mhm. So,
the print quality is still fine.
yeah. So and even then, you can replace the controller once it's all said and done if you wanted a new one. I will say that I will always look for a controller that has UART enabled. I don't understand why 32-bit boards with TMC drivers do not ship with UART enabled. So I
Now,
will always
now,
check that.
now, most of our audience probably knows what that means, but just to be clear for anyone who watches this and is new, um, SPI and UART are the interactive communication that buses that allow you to go directly to a TMC or I'm not sure if there's other models that currently support it, but in the case we're talking about, TMC 2201s through 2208s or nines and
Nines and
2225s and sixes.
the
Pretty much
driver.
the whole
Yeah.
brand of TMC drivers has a communication protocol, whether it's SPI, which is the old one, and UART. Now, most of them are UART now, and the nice thing about UART is you don't have to take a little screwdriver and a voltmeter and adjust the voltage of your stepper to get it just right. You can actually set it in software. You can tell it exactly what you want in software, and you're not off. And the other thing that you can do is you can turn features that they offer in the drivers on and off. So, for example, if the chip has a silent mode, you can turn it off. If it has the that stealth chop, if it has spread cycle, which allows you to exceed a threshold and then go out of stealth chop and have a little more torque, then your silent portion goes away, and now you can hear your steppers again, but it allows you to exceed a certain threshold, and then you get the performance. So the UART feature, really, there's no excuse almost in my mind not to have it on a board. And so I 100% agree with David. I always look for a board that has UART enabled because it's such a solid feature that and then if you are shipping a board, right, like the Ender 3 Pro board and whatnot, if you had UART enabled, people don't have to reflash. They can tweak their settings and
Yep.
turn on and off features right through your screen, and you don't even need to plug it into a computer. So again, no reason not to have it. And then
Yeah.
there's some chat questions that are
Yeah, I
popped
was
up.
just gonna say I don't. Ray popped into chat like his CR10S is still running 1.9, and mine would be Ray if the controller that came in the CR test or 10S didn't have a stepper driver blow up, and I had to replace it. So now it's running a Big Tree Tech. I think I got the SKR 1.3 in there, and it's on Marlin 2.7. So but I mean, again, I had to do it. It stopped working. It no longer worked. But yeah, so I mean, the UART, and it's an important feature. The other weird thing, guys, if you have an Ender 3 V2 and you're trying to flash the firmware and you're going bonkers and it won't work, you do have to remember that although it's a 32-bit board, you cannot have the firmware.bin file name the same thing that flashed the firmware before the last time, if that sentence makes sense. So
Yeah,
if you flash the controller on your V2 and with a file called firmware.bin, the next time you go to flash it, you'll have to name that firmware.bin file anything.bin.
the
Just
like
diff, otherwise
cookies
it
dot
will not
bin,
work.
or and
There
then next
used
next
a
time
weird bootloader.
next time call it pi dot bin.
Right? Yep. Got shutting a window down here. I think it's eating up some of my CPU usage. Um, so the next topic du jour. This is mad. That is madness. Bin the bin. Right?
Yep.
It's Inception, firmware Inception. Um, so the next topic of the day I added, and it'll probably eat up a bit of time here. Not a lot of you know kind of the backstory, I guess, firmware .bin mod, and I don't think that'll work. It has to be actually .bin, but you could try. So I have the a topic here called the why of 3D Make It, and um, there's several whys of why the 3D Make It entity of Greg and David exists on the internet, and in the YouTubes as well. And the story is a few years old now, but like um, Greg, my good friend Greg,
That's
um,
me.
if you guys don't know, we work together. And we've known each other for a long time too. But we work in the same. Well, usually we work in the same building, right? And when I started working there, shortly thereafter, Greg suddenly, for some reason, became more owning of 3D printers than he had used to be.
I had no influence of David at all.
Oh, and I'm not saying I'm a bad influence, but that's so there is a bit of a backstory there. But I'm gonna ask Greg because it's a really good question to ask and then a good conversation to have. But like, um, Greg, why do you 3D make it? What is your I guess yeah, why do you 3D make it? What's your mission statement when thinking about
Well,
3D make it?
so um, before I owned a 3D printer, I had the opportunity through work to help other people um, kind of learn about 3D printing and whatnot. I've always been interested in um, design and um, building things, and and then I've always enjoyed kind of helping people, um, you know, kind of better their skills on that sort of stuff. So it was, you know, when 3D printing kind of I was exposed to it, I was like, hey, I can do more with this. I can do this, and it's really got me excited about the possibilities and my creative side um, was allowed to I could explore it even more, right?
Hmm.
So I got so then I was playing with it more and more and more, and then David was like, hey, you should get one on your own. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know what size to get, this and that. And then it snowballed after that because, and then I've always been the, um, the detail nerd about specs and boards and chips, and it fascinates me the different technologies of how the TMC drivers work and this and that, and so
Hmm.
so being able to modify the device and whatnot and try these different technologies, that also really uh, you know you know interested me, and then why not share that? And so that's kind of where it comes in, is that my natural curiosity, and I think yours as well, um, we also like to share what we do because some other people, you know, may not have even thought of opening up their printer and changing stuff or looking at stuff, or they haven't learned the troubleshooting yet. So
Right,
I enjoy that piece of it.
great, and I good answer by the way. Good answer. Clap, clap, clap. um, so for me, and it's much the same. I've been doing it a bit longer than Greg has. Like 3D printing itself. I'm not going to say like the CNC milling and the spark, that stuff. I mean, we've both been exposed to that stuff for a very long time. It's just the matter of getting going in it. But I started 3D printing um, specifically like probably 2015, I want to say. And then I bought my first printer was a CR10S. And then it snowballed from there. But one thing that I didn't appreciate, and I learned this very quickly on YouTube, there are a lot of people that do this. Hey guys, I printed this Moai head at point 0.2 resolution at 60 millimeters a second, 210 at the hot end, and 60 on the bed. And this is how this Moai head looks. And that's it. That's the whole that was the reference point. And it always bothered me that there was no detail behind lots of what was going on the YouTube, right? Because as Greg and I are in an interesting position when it comes to learning technology, and that's because, well, we work in technology and we're both educated in some sort of technological fashion. So our brains are already, hardwired to go, well, yeah, okay, so I have this Moai, and some guy on the internet told me a bunch of random stats about how he did it, but he didn't actually go into why he did it, or even how you got to the point where you could print a giant moai head, right? And so I was actually in the living room with my wife, and we were watching a certain channel, and the comment she made the comment like, well, you're always correcting you're correcting these guys or adding more information to it. Why don't you just do it? And so from there it was, I couldn't take on the content responsibility, I guess, by myself, right? It's a lot of work to put out a video every week. And so then, and I knew that Greg had passion, so then we were chatting about it, and that's where 3D Make It came from. And our mission, I guess our mission statement or our goal is not to show you um an end result with very specific settings to that end result. Our overall intent on the channel, and I know you guys have seen this in other videos too that we've done, is to deliver why and how, not the end result, because I think empowering people to do the process by themselves is a much stronger learning tool than, here, you just need to print this Moai head, and these are the very specific use cases for that. Like, and I think that was reflected in our videos, Greg. We don't like. I think what we have 3 total unboxing videos on the channel. I think.
Yeah, we have a couple. We're not number one. They don't send us printers, so we
I think they're scared, man. I think we.
because they know we'll analyze them to death and really whatever. But you're right. Like so, like this tooth thing, I just put together for fun. But if someone wants to know how I embedded the magnets and whatnot in the bottom and how I did that, I'm totally good with showing you a video on that kind of thing. But I mean, I totally just did this because I thought it was cool, right? Um, that sort of thing. So, but if you want to see, how we embed pieces and parts and other things you can do, I mean, we're happy to do a video showing you, oh well, this is how you pause your print here, and then you can add your magnets, and then you can continue your print, and then we're happy to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of our, again, like, and that speaks to the, we want to teach you how, not why, or not to, that's not correct. We want to teach you how and why. We just don't want to throw it at you and say this is the end product, regurgitate this exactly and it will work. We want to make it so that you can edit your firmware, or and I think there's only 2 channels that I can, or channels is the wrong word, but I think there's 2 YouTubers that kind of get that way. Um, but I also think that I'm getting tired of people building speakers. That seems to be the new thing going around in 3D printers. Um, Look, I made a speaker. What we got? Unboxing videos is getting boring really quick. I like the nerdy stuff. Totally, right? Like
Yeah.
an unboxing is like, yeah, there was parts in this box. I put them together and here's a printer. So why don't, if I'm going to tell you something about a printer, why don't I just start at here's the printer? Um, and I realize that there are
There are
people that used to use instructional, like, like they'd unbox and then give you step by step
right.
instructions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now it's just like, um, they'll like unbox so they'll literally they'll start with, okay, I'm opening the box. Okay, now I took the top piece of foam out of the box.
I do
Okay,
like to
then
see what's new in different products and whatnot, and and that sort of thing. So I get the unboxing. I do, and I watch some unboxings, but if they don't open up the bottom and show me the nerdy insides of the board, right, and whether it has removable steppers and whatnot, then I'm like, well, then why'd you even do the video? Because I want to see if unless you do the in depth, take it apart and whatnot. And I think I appreciate the live stream versions of those where they're like chatting with people and people are asking question what's in there and whatnot. I think that works better than just a fully scripted unboxing. But
unbox. Uh, Didi Me and Alex are my two favorite nerdy YouTube channels. Man, that's pretty high company right there, and we are going to, like I said, we are going to get we're diving in nerdier. I need my hand to heal up a bit. I have a hard time with dexterity on a normal day, so now I'm really hooped. So I just need that to before we can get to some of the nerdy stuff. But
so what you're
that,
saying is you need more slicers to drop and more Marlin so you can put out content.
yeah, until my hand heals up, I got those. I want to do the temperature video. We've got some cool stuff coming thanks to one of our Patreons. He knows who he is. But we've got some stuff coming from Stig to show you guys.
Yeah, we've got yeah. So well, we could do a teaser here. So
We can.
uh,
I'm okay with
yeah,
teasing. I'm
yeah.
just trying
You
to think
you.
how to tease.
So we have a direct drive extruder coming. We
Mhm.
don't even have to say which one because we can just let it show up.
Magical
And
draft. Yeah.
yeah, and then we have some stepper control pieces coming. How's that? Is that a good
Yeah.
tease?
That's a good tease. Some, would you call them closed or I would call them closed stepper things. But we do have some stuff coming up. And part of it is to see what kind of speed we can drive out of the Ender 3 frame. And I am happy to see if I can blow up something that looks like an Ender 3 in the name of science. So
um,
that is coming up too. And then
yeah.
we've got cool stuff. I think if I understand the nature of the project, we are kind of going to come up with an IDEX system on our own ish, or on
Yes.
Greg's
So
ish. I
so
think that
so
is the
so
goal.
David and I have been talking about this, uh, both with Stig in the Discord, and so if you guys want to engage in Discord, we have some good conversations in there.
Mhm.
But we've been talking about. Um, I think David came up with the idea of designing a whole IDEX system.
Yeah.
I definitely want to convert. So David and I both have the Legend. That was one of our unboxing videos. Um, it was mm, a poorly implemented version of the Ender
That's a nice
type
way to put
type
it, for sure. Poorly
system.
implemented.
They did improve it in their next iteration, but I would like to take that one and convert it to IDEX. So I have ordered a RepRap board for my birthday, which is next
Hey.
weekend.
Yeah.
And
Birthday
so
next week.
So it's not shipping yet. So I'm like I keep checking. Has it shipped yet? Has it shipped yet? And it has not. So I want to do two things. I want to set it up with IDEX, is my plan, and we'll do a video on
Yeah.
what kind of steps you would need to do to convert a printer to IDEX. And it could go to any printer really. And then the other piece I want to look at is these boards can run Marlin and they can run RepRap. So because they can run both, is we I'd like to see if there's a performance difference. There shouldn't really be, in my mind, a performance difference. Some feature differences, obviously, with how, I think it's linear advance is not called linear advance. Like there's terms that it's like
Yeah.
I can't remember the term, but there's a number of different features. So I have never used RepRap firmware. Okay, so I'm going to go into it fully blind and stumble through it. So I hopefully will be able to do a video showing you um, how I went from Marlin to RepRap and configured it, and what my impressions are on the differences. So
Totally.
I'm hoping to have a few that'll give us a few nerdy videos in that
Very
respect.
ready. There is a question, and I will. I might answer it first and let you have it. But why would you go RepRap firmware? And there's many reasons why you would actually use RepRap. For like for just from a usability standpoint. And I was talking actually in the Discord, the Patreon Discord, about it. I don't know, yesterday, day before. You don't need Octoprint. There's less interfacing that you need because RepRap firmware has its own web interface, and you
That's true.
to, right, the controllability is there. The feature, and like you mentioned, Greg, the feature set is actually very similar. They've just named things differently. Um, and
It
for
all
you to change things in RepRap firmware is actually, dare I say, more user friendly. Is that the
well,
right term? Would
I
you
don't know
think
if it
user
is
friendly?
more user friendly because you have to. So it's just different. So the one thing that my understanding is, and I'm a noob, so my understanding is all the features are there. You don't
Mhm.
have to. So when you load the firmware, all the features are there, and then the way it works is you adjust the config file to turn on and off features. Whereas in
Mhm.
Marlin, you set up all the features you want and compile it. So if you want another feature, you got to recompile it. Whereas with RepRap, if you just want a new feature, you just turn it on. As long as it's on the version you have, you just turn it on or off. So so from that respect, I can see it being not too bad. Um, and so it's just different. It's different is all I'm saying. Like it's the way it works.
Yeah, the RepRap firmware too, just to be clear, you do not have to write config changes all the time to the config file. There's actually a whole interface that's web driven where you can just literally look at the screen and click and change stuff. But that interface portion of RepRap is almost to me like the EEPROM saving in Marlin. So, I mean, again, right? It's a feature that they have that works well in both.
Yep.
But like you don't have to remember what M119 means, right? That kind of stuff. I'm just looking at the comments here too.
And I don't
Uh,
think one is better than the other yet. Like I haven't formed any opinion one way or the other. I think they're just different approaches, right? Um,
well,
with the way RepRap has been, it's been less accessible, shall we say, to everyone because you had to have a 32-bit board pretty much, and it until recently it had to be the more expensive duet boards.
mhm.
There weren't cloned versions uh, available, but now with the more powerful boards that are available, So that I think that's the thing, right? To have all the features already in there and turned on, you need a powerful enough board, and
Yep.
so when you had your Melzies and your other 8-bit boards, um, I think a number of us have fought with the memory limits, turning on certain features. So
Never, never had a
now,
problem.
but now the field has been leveled with 32-bit boards and the variety of these 32-bit chips out there that are allowing us to have all these features.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so
It's
yeah,
truly the golden age of 3D printing. But yeah, I think if we can get our IDEX kit working the way we like it, we'll just open source it too. Um,
absolutely.
I don't see us doing anything but putting it out there and saying these are the parts you need to print, or you have to buy this one extra piece of extrusion and belt, and this will get you IDEX with this controller. So I do want to, before we wrap up for the day too, because it's getting to that time, Greg.
It
Getting
is.
actually, it just went to that time. But before we wrap up, I do want to mention a few things. Again, thanks to the Patreon supporters, Helge joining the top level there, and then we have a couple. Um,
Yeah,
I
we
think
have
the dissolvable supports we call them. So thank you
yeah,
um,
yeah,
for that
and we've
support.
got Stig and got oh, where's my list of Patreons?
Greg lost it. Um,
Second.
but thank you guys for the support here. I got the screen here. I'm just gonna
Uh,
flash it on my screen share. Or do I? No, I
pin
don't.
pin
We
zero.
have it. Zero, yeah, he's the
Yeah,
other one. But
Stig
thank you
and
guys for
Helge.
joining up and supporting. We sure appreciate it, and it lets us do a whole lot more for you. The next thing that I wanted to mention too is, as you know, the special guest that we were teasing at was going to be here this week, but he just had some issues. He runs a factory. They're actually a spool company. Do I have
A
a spool up here?
filament company. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I got it. I just have to, it's sitting on the printer. Hold on. So, let's see. This one, down a little bit, this one. So the spool, the company's called M3D. And we're not sponsored in any way. I'm just showing you that so you know. And he's actually going to come, was going to come this week, but he actually had an issue with his
correct. PR
um
Matter 3D.
filament extruders and stuff, and so they had to fix some of that. And he's gonna be at the factory when he joins the show too, so he's gonna maybe pop in some stuff like that. But again, he's here next week, and he is a doctor. He's a PhD doctor,
In
a
material
material
science.
scientist.
Yeah,
So yeah, and Matter M3D Matter 3D is the company. And again, we're not sponsored in any way. We just we're gonna hang
yeah,
out with them. He's gonna
yeah,
talk a little bit about his filament, obviously, but we're gonna ask him questions about um, stuff that we've just been wondering in general. So
and
if
if you
as
have questions,
yeah,
please put them in
please
the
email,
comments and
comment.
or email us at info. I'll put it in
Yeah,
chat.
are you putting it in the chatty
Yeah, I
thingy?
am.
He's putting it in the chatty thing. But so that'll be next week. And the other thing that they're going to do is, if you so the giant moai head I held up is actually their filament, and it prints very well. It's very
It
comparable to
the
protopasta.
teeth I did here very similar. I'm having a stringing issue, and I just want to eliminate the fact that I made changes on my printer recently,
Yep.
and I don't know if it's that or if it's just the temperature I'm printing at because I dropped it down to 200 and still had some stringing. So
Yeah. See, and I moved mine up to 215 because I printed a temperature tower finally once in my life. Um, that's the first one I've ever done. But I programmed it too. Program. But again, guys, I'm reiterating this because it's important. We are not sponsored in any way. Even that filament that we showed you we printed, it didn't come to us from the company. Okay, not sponsored. It was
Yeah.
purchased, and he. It'll be a very interesting conversation with Amin next week. So please join us. It'll be 10 o'clock next week.
As
Greg
per
will be,
normal.
yep, 1 day older. We're always 1 day older. Um, but please join us. Send us questions if you have them.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
as for today, um, we shall release 3D printing church to the world. So thanks for showing up, guys.
And
Um,
one more thing. The
oh yeah,
nerdier the question, the better.
yeah. Nerdier
Okay,
the
because then we
better.
get a nice nerdy answer. So feel free to really, we want to challenge them if possible.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Uh,
but yeah, thanks everyone for joining. If you haven't, hit the thumbs up so the YouTube gods smile on us. And thanks for joining us.
have a good one, everybody.
Bye.